Welcome to the second OTRSCentral Q A. British Fist, we coming for you, mother humper!
Suck it.
That's right.
What's up now, motherfucker?
That's the closest they're getting to a what's up from OTRS. Stop
Until
hearing
they
your
stop
videos.
hearing them, yeah.
Yes. We may not always agree on everything, but one thing we do agree on is that this is the right way to show our videos to the audience where we look like we're supposed to. Ready?
Yeah, let's do this.
Oh, one quick thing. How do they get their questions answered in future Q&As?
There's a link down here to our Twitter. You tweet at the Off the Rope Show and send your question there.
Yeah, and then we'll do the best we
Simple as
can.
that. It's free. It's easy.
We'll do the best we can to answer every question that we get as much as we possibly can. I'll go ahead and say you kick it off with the first question.
You just didn't want to pronounce the name. Valet X Crusade. What do you guys think about Cesaro and Miz going after each other?
You know, if this was actually an example of a feud that they were building starting at the new year and it was going to culminate in a big WrestleMania match where either Miz becomes your new United States champion or Cesaro gets a signature victory over a former WWE champion at the biggest show of the year, I think there's a lot of wins to it.
It's also a different style of match for Miz to work because Cesaro is I'm going in there and beating the shit out of you type of wrestler, whereas Miz is more, I'm going to do these certain moves and hope that I win.
There's a good contrast, and, you know, Cesaro obviously could be the ring general in that situation with Miz throwing in some stuff too, but, you know, I would like to see it, and I'd like to see it be a feud that carried on all the way through to WrestleMania. I doubt they would go there. But,
exactly. I'd like to see Cesaro's rough and tumble style against Miz's style.
yeah, I mean, so, you know, this would be an example of a really good mid-card feud, especially revolving around the United States Championship. I have no problem with it. You want to say stuff about names. Here's the second one. Llewellyn Luan. If I butchered that, I do apologize. The road to WrestleMania is getting predictable. What ways would you change that?
Is it really that predictable? I mean, yeah, there's hints that we're getting Brock versus Triple H and Rock versus Cena too, but I mean, none of that's set in stone at this point.
You know, and here's the thing is that one complaint that a lot of people are going to have, and frankly, understandably so, is that this show very much looks like it could be rematch mania.
Right.
You know, and you know, even if they do Rock Cena rematch, Punk versus Taker, we've seen that several times in the past before. That's a rematch. Triple H Lesnar rematch. If they end up doing like Sheamus Orton rematch. Lots of rematches here. What would I do to change it being predictable? I don't know that necessarily predictable is a bad thing in some cases, especially if it's done well. Probably could give us some unique matchups, like you just had Mark Henry come back. Maybe have him win the world title at Elimination Chamber and have him and Ryback face off at WrestleMania.
I'd like Ryback Jericho.
Yeah, Ryback Jericho, I've mentioned that one too, and I think that's another good one. So some matches like that potentially. But I don't know. Like I said, I don't think predictable is necessarily a bad thing if you execute on it.
Exactly. If you get the show that you wanted, you can't really bitch about it.
Yeah, it's just if you have too many matches that we've seen before, like even if they split off Daniel Bryan and Kane by then, we've seen Daniel Bryan versus Kane one-on-one
a lot
before.
of times.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just at Ben_Allen311. What was the best and worst angle of 2012? Best or worst storyline? You got a best or worst storyline?
I can tell you the worst.
Yes.
Christian.
Oh, shut up. How was he the worst? He was barely even on TV. Be
He
serious.
was also the best.
Be serious. So that could be your best. So I will ask you again, Mike. What was your best storyline of 2012?
Christian. He wasn't on TV. It was the greatest thing ever, and 2013 has been amazing without him.
What about your worst storyline or angle?
There's a couple to choose from.
Just pick one.
Ziggler. Mainly everything about Ziggler.
Wow! Is it the involvement of AJ Lee or what?
There's the involvement of AJ Lee. There's him and Jack Swagger with Vicky. I mean, take your pick.
So you say, wow.
I also think it was stupid, the whole Cena and AJ thing, which Ziggler was also tied into.
the best angle of 2012. I mean, I just don't really think there was that much good storytelling in 2012, except for James Storm and Robert Roode, and the way that storyline was cultivated by TNA from October, November of 2011 all the way through to Bound for Glory 2012. To me, the best well done storyline of that year. Worst to me has to also go to TNA and Aces and Eights. I could throw in an honorable mention to turning CM Punk heel, but I don't even think it's close to the stupidity of Aces and Eights.
Anything involving RVD also.
I didn't say that, people. At W. Rain Foster. Now that Mr. Bob Backlund and Bruno Sammartino are going into the Hall of Fame, what else does he say here?
Who else would you like to see inducted? Macho Man? Owen Hart?
Yeah, Owen definitely. Rick Rude, Bam Bam Bigelow, Luna,
My
British Bulldog.
My childhood favorite, Jake the Snake Roberts.
Oh,
especially since he's getting clean now. He looks in great shape now.
Yeah, Scott Hall. I mean, the names are endless. There are so many names that you could sit there and say.
Dream Boy 899.
Wow, he's gotten on the Twitter thing, huh?
What is your take on the backstage resentment The Rock has been receiving, and are you excited for the road to WrestleMania 29?
I understand some of the resentment because I think about this in a real world situation. If I'm sitting there working a job and I think I'm doing a good job, but I can relate it specifically to the experience at Target is that, I know that I know what the fuck I'm doing. I understand how other jobs are done in the building. I have previous management supervisor experience, and I'm never going to get promoted there because I don't have a 4-year degree. So they bring in somebody from the outside that frankly has never done the job, in some cases never had a job, but since they have the 4-year degree, they're supposed to be my boss and I'm supposed to take them seriously. Now the difference being is that The Rock is coming in and he has years of experience and he has been one of the biggest stars and still is one of the biggest stars the business has ever produced. So I can understand some resentment about him taking this spot, but when you get your WrestleMania payouts and you see how much bigger they are because you have a star the caliber of The Rock on the card, how resentful are you going to be? And you've talked about it before with who else are they going to have that's really built up?
Yeah, who's built up to take that belt from Punk? Nobody.
Or if they were in the case maybe of a Ryback, if you're going to do that, they did everything they could to undercut it.
Exactly. And for people to say, oh, The Rock's just a part-timer, blah, 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 it's just about money. Yeah, it is about money, and it's about ratings, and it's about getting eyes on your product so that you can feature your new guys, and then people can be like, oh, I like this guy. And then The Rock leaves, and they're like, oh, I still like this guy, so I'm going to watch.
Yeah, it's like Rock versus Cena, even if we don't like it, it's supposed to be the dessert. Mm-hmm. And, sometimes you have a great meal and you don't want the dessert. Or sometimes maybe all you want is the dessert, like a little kid or something. But the things like, let's say, Punk versus Taker. Punk's demonstrated as a steak. Ryback, Jericho. Ryback's shown as the potatoes, etc. Yeah, you find out all the other pieces of this meal are really good too, and Rock and Cena is just the dessert, the cherry on the top. At Webster Russell, who had a bigger ego, Hogan or Austin? Ooh. Ooh.
That's really debatable.
Ooh. Ooh. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that either one of these men having egos are bad, because I think when you get to a certain level and to a certain spot, you have to have an ego.
Exactly. Otherwise, you're going to be just shut down the card.
Yeah, and I think that Hogan and Austin both have tremendously sized egos, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but also it's not always necessarily a good thing. I think other people that sometimes get a big pass in this category are those such as Shawn Michaels, especially early in his career. All of you Bret Hart fans, you listen to him talk now, that's a man with a huge ego too. I'm not comparing it to Hogan and Austin, but I'm saying sometimes as you get that thing about Hogan having the biggest ego and da-da-da, there are plenty of other big stars that had tremendously sized egos. Just to sit here and say it, because unlike a lot of you that can't ever say anything negative or less than 100% positive about your favorite, I will say Hogan had the biggest ego there. I did something a lot of you can't do. Don't tell me I kiss Hogan's ass every chance I get, just 98% of the time. Thank you. It's the next question.
At Biffo 2010, what would you rather see? Schleg Daddy versus Jeff Jarrett or Ray Lewis versus O.J. Simpson versus Triple H.
Oh, God, give me that triple threat match.
No, give me the two Jeffs.
No, nobody wants to see that shit. You got Ray Lewis, O.J. Simpson, Triple H. You've got a man that was accused of a double murder, a man who killed 2 white people and got away with it, and then you've got God. Not only is he God, mind you, but every time he wrestles a match now, he promises a death. Somebody's going to die. He's going to kill somebody.
You versus Jeff Jarrett. Here's you when the match starts. Assume Jeff Jarrett position. You try and get under the ring. He comes under there, pulls you out, hits you with the guitar, and then you kick his ass.
I still want to see Ray Lewis versus O.J. Simpson versus Triple H. In fact, let's flip that question to the people. Which of those 2 matches would you rather see? You! Don't you say Schleg Daddy versus Jeff Jarrett. I know it'll equal.
They want to see it.
Well, I mean, I'm a star, so of course it's going to equal buy rates, but Ray Lewis, O.J. Simpson, Triple H. Can you imagine that? I mean, you could call that like a death row match or a San Quentin street fight. Whatever. At JRow1279. You guys doing anything for Black History Month? Of course I am. I don't know when, but there might be a couple of videos on this channel during the month pertaining to Black History for wrestling, no question. I have to. That's who I am. Smokey may or may not be involved in one of those. I'm just throwing it out there.
I'm going to go see Die Hard.
Yeah, that's a very good thing to do. That's a way to celebrate Black History Month. Last question. What is it?
At CandyLick21. How many cats do you have? Where did you get them from? How long have you had them? Do you sleep with them? That last part wasn't on there. But the answer is yes, you do.
All right, how many cats do I have? Well, I used to have 3. Unfortunately, Feisty passed away back on October 1st, and I had her for 10 years. She was a byproduct of my first relationship, and that was the only good thing I ever got out of it was my little baby girl for 10 years. I don't...
Sounds really dirty the way you said that.
I don't even care. You talk about my baby girl, doesn't matter. So she's been gone for... Well, that's 4 months now.
Yep.
She got very sick all of a sudden and just... No, there's just the 2, obviously. If you watch the Impact reviews, you see Smokey, you see Precious. That's deuces and 4s. How long have I had them? I've had Precious. Funny story with Precious. I think I've told this before, but maybe you haven't seen it or heard it before. I moved out shortly after I graduated from high school, and I didn't have shit to my name. I was working a crappy job for a grocery store called Eagle Country Market, making $5.50 an hour. So I had a 1-room apartment, literally, and I mean that. It was a community bathroom shared with 2 other tenants who had their own 1-room apartment. And within a week of moving in there, I started noticing this gold cat was jumping around the trees and everything else. And, you know, I tried to feed him a couple of times. Tried to bring him up one time. My mom was over. She said, "You don't do that. Your language nothing like that." So then, of course, he didn't come back for about a week. I was very pissed at my mom. There's one time I ever cussed out my mom. Yes, it was over a cat. And she regrets it every day. So about a week later, he finally came over. He came from the alley. I happened to see him. And I sat there and ran down the stairs, picked him up, and I've had Precious ever since. It's been 13 and a half years now. Smokey came because I had Precious and Feisty at the time. And where I lived back in Illinois, somebody got evicted and they left 2 cats locked up in an apartment. And Smokey's mom was given to me to take care of for a few days. Well, she was pregnant. She ended up having 3 cats. Smokey's older brother, Lucky, who passed away when he was a year and a half, his younger brother, who I ended up finding a home for, and then Smokey. Smokey was born July 25th of 2005, and I promise you I will never, ever forget that fucking day. As long as I live. One of the freakiest things ever. He came out of his mama's womb with attitude, and he was trying to take 2 teats at a time because one just wasn't enough milk for him. I hope that answers your question.
It's probably more than they wanted to know.
Well, they got the background and they got the story.
If you would like to have your questions answered on these Q&As, what can they do?
Submit them to us on Twitter at Off the Rope Show. That information will be in the description box below. Thanks for tuning in again. We'll be back with another one of these very soon.